Hi guys, and welcome to the Jibber Jabber podcast. You thought I was going to do it to you again there, Jay Mack, didn't you?
I really did. I had every suspicion that you would just leave me sitting here looking like a lonely little prisoner, just waiting in his cell for the time that somebody's going to put him to death. But it was nice not to do that this time, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We are not alone today. Today we have Giuseppe Lucarelli on the show. He made a movie called Checkmate. So he wrote the movie, he directed it, and he was also in it. And not to mention, his talents don't stop there. This guy can fight like Bruce Lee. As good as Bruce Lee? What would you say, Jordan? You're the Bruce Lee guy.
I'm the Bruce Lee guy, but my Bruce Lee the way I perceive Bruce Lee has been drastically changed in recent years just by how impressive mixed martial arts is and stuff like that. I think that Bruce Lee came across on screen as a very good martial artist, but he never had a real fight, so I don't know how to feel about it anymore. So I don't know, maybe he can help clear this up.
So we're going to bring him in after we play a little introduction as to how he kind of got into it. We'll get more into that when we bring him on, which will be in a couple of secs, so enjoy this.
I've been practicing karate for as long as I can remember. I love it. Growing up, I'd see someone do crazy things on TV that, I wanted to be able to do. So I drive my parents nuts jumping around the house, doing them for hours, days on end. It's in the family. My father began training at 17. If you apply yourself, it can help you improve every aspect of your life. It helps with focus, discipline, confidence, everything. You will be faster, stronger, sharper. Just speaking for myself, it's helped me in everything. School, college, life. It helped me with my creative endeavors, including ballroom dance, where I met my wife. I was a better athlete, mentally and physically, because of my training. It's self-paced and it just builds and builds and builds. So no matter your reason, whether to learn the martial arts, improve your health, or just have fun, there's something here for you. My students enjoy it because I love it, and I just want to share what I've learned.
Ladies and gents, welcome Giuseppe Lucarelli.
Hello.
What an introduction, right?
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's the most complimentary thing I've ever heard. Thank you.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And so before we kind of mentioned there that before we kind of talk about the movie, you yourself are like an insane martial artist. Now, we grew up, obviously, Jordan in the 80s, myself in the 90s, but it's pretty much, hand in hand. We grew up watching stuff like, Enter the Dragon. For me, it was like Bloodsport. Same with J-Mac. We loved all the cool martial artists. Where did it begin for you to kind of go, this is something I want? Because we all kind of came out of the bath, with the house coat belt, put it on and pretending we're Bruce Lee, but you pursued that. Yeah. What was it for you that made you go, right, that's what I want to do?
I was kind of always doing it. I mean, when I was 2, I almost killed our dog, apparently. My father tells the story of me walking out in this gi after dinner, and I've got like the Bruce Springsteen head bandana on because it's 1982, and Born in the USA hasn't even come out yet. I think it's got another year, and but the look is there. And I walk out, and I have this wooden sword, probably about this big, and I walk up to the dog, and I bow to him, and I draw the sword, and my mother's like, "Oh, this is so cute," and my father's like, "Yeah, he's gonna do something." And the dog just looks at me, and I crack it in the head. The eyes roll back. The dog passes out. I bow to the dog. I bow to my parents, and then I walk back in my room. And then my mother yells at my father for letting me do that.
You're like, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yes, that is my first martial arts story.
Beating the dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bruce Lee is good because there are no stories of real fights. We don't know that he wasn't in one. We never saw the other guy.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I think it's one of these ones where the legend of the guy has almost kind of surpassed the truth to who he was. And I think it almost serves him a little bit of a disservice. But we're not here to talk about Bruce Lee. We're here to talk about Giuseppe Lee. So let's go.
Giuseppe Lee. That would have been that would have been a really cool name, Giuseppe Lee. right? Because then people would be like, "Wait a minute, is he related to Bruce Lee? We need to look into this further." And it's like free advertising.
It's going to be my new stage name, Giuseppe.
Exactly. So did you kind of just find a local martial arts school and just from there?
My father had been training for, I want to say 8 years, maybe even 10 by the time I was born. So I was grandfathered into it, if you will, or I guess fathered into it. But when I was born, he was working on he left the military and he was working on his PhD in upstate New York. So we wound up studying under a gentleman named Heidi Ochai. And that's where I began. And, this guy he's 80 years old and he's still, I would say, one of the best in the world. One of maybe 2 people I've met who's like a true master, that mind and body one kind of thing.
They all tend to be really old, eh? I mean, it's like the cliche in the movie. They're never called Dave, right? They always have a name that's very hard for me to pronounce. It's never like Dave, the martial artist. You know what I mean? It's just never the case, is it?
That should be my next role. That's what I'll do. Dave, the martial artist.
How cool would that be? Just like some generic name. You know what I mean?
That's the type of film I can see somebody like John C. Reilly doing, just like Dave the karate master.
Man, that'd be way better than me. Yeah,
he's age 30. He's age 30 with like 70 years experience.
That's perfect.
It'd be along the lines of that.
Yeah,
for sure.
You better hurry up and copyright that before someone steals it.
Nah, I mean, absolutely. It happens so quickly now. It's so quick.
Yeah.
It's so easy to steal things now online that it's crazy. I mean, you obviously you said that it was your father that was the one who kind of introduced you to the martial arts. So other than your father, did you have any other kind of martial arts idols that you aspired to be like?
Oh yeah, I mean, Ochai was always top of the list. I would say though. I loved all the greats, like Bruce Lee was amazing, especially because cinema is really where, especially in the United States, we really took to it, and speaking of Bruce Lee, like his legend now has been growing longer than he was alive. So at this point, so but then, you have guys like Jackie Chan, who is probably the most amazing athlete we've seen in the last, everyone talks about Messi and Ronaldo, who are, demigods, but like look at Jackie Chan and what was it? The last movie I saw of his was The Foreigner a few years ago, and he was in his 60s and still doing things he was doing in his 30s.
Yeah,
that's insane. I heard about Jackie Chan that he actually didn't know any English, but he taught himself to speak the lines of the role.
Oh wow!
If that's true, I mean, he done really good. Because I think with the lines that like you could say words in another language, but to make it look like you understand what someone else is saying and you're responding. I mean, that itself, I think he just knew English, right?
No,
it'd be much easier to learn English.
He definitely did not. If you look at the blooper reel from the end of the Rush Hour movies, he did not know. And those are some of the best blooper reels that I've ever seen. And yours will come later. Yours is coming on later in the show.
Great. I enjoy putting that together. But yeah, to your point, that's one of my favorite blooper reels because he was learning the language, like he had to go by the script, and then Chris Tucker would rehearse the script and then say something completely different. And on camera.
So it's like, well, I'm just going to be a dick. Let's see how this goes.
the ultimate betrayal. So when you were learning to become a martial artist, was it in your mind, like I know Arnold Schwarzenegger knew that bodybuilding was his path to Hollywood, and he knew that right, like Reg Parks, that's how Reg Parks done it, so he's going to do that, use the same formula but do it better than Reg Parks, and you could argue that he's probably one of the biggest known bodybuilders in the world is Arnold Schwarzenegger. So when you were younger, did you go, this is going to be my path to the movies, or did you just, this is going to be my ass to kicking Billy's ass?
I mean, I think I've always kind of felt that, if I were to make it into the movies, throughout my life, it was going to be something related to the martial arts. That was going to be my key differentiator. But yeah, I mean, I always had I just always I just love doing it. Like whether I'm practicing by myself or something else, like it's always just been like a true love of mine. So I knew it was always going to be something I was doing, whether it led me to Hollywood or someplace else, or I guess now to virtual lessons, which I was complimented by a friend in Thailand who said, you have a responsibility to share your knowledge. So open up a virtual school. I was like, okay.
Wow, virtual school. That's quite, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking at your promotional stuff that you've done for your online school. Your martial arts is very crisp. It's very clean.
Thanks.
It's I was impressed when I was watching it, and a lot of the time when you watch these movies like, I don't know, like American Ninja and stuff like that, it's almost a little bit cringy when you're watching it. It's like, come on, but your stuff is legit. Now, the first question I want to ask about the movie Checkmate, what is it now? Most people, when they're making their first movie, they tend to go for, and I'm basing this on experience and things that I've seen so far. People tend to go for horror movies or drama as their first movie endeavor. You went straight for the action thriller. It's not the done thing as far as I can determine. So was it purely your background in martial arts that made you think, right, I want to make this type of movie, or did you just think I want to buck the trend a little bit?
I think it was both. Because I'd worked on a couple horror projects before. I worked on one that was actually a comedy. It never got. This one was funny. It never got finished because it wasn't my project, but I was cast in it, and it never got finished because 70% into filming. The low budget issue. The villain was a bit of a prima donna, but so he delayed production a little bit, and then the owner of the house we were filming in sold the property to someone who tore it down the next day. So it's like, oh, we got to reshoot everything. We don't have the money for this. But it was an absolute wonderful thing to work on. The people were great, but it was, it was like this horror martial arts comedy. But I was like, there is an audience for it. And, like I just wanted to make something that I like doing. I had this idea and, I was like, Pittsburgh is incredibly film friendly, and we filmed it there and in Canonsburg, an outlying suburb, which, Chief Coghill there was fantastic. The chief of police, we had they really made it easy to film. And so we had obviously it's not a big budget film. So we had a lot of people help us out. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I was like, I had this idea. I was like, we can do it. So I spent some time writing it, and there you have it. Then we're like, let's just do it. We could spend 20 years trying to raise $20 million to do it, or we could shoot this now and get started. So yeah.
Yeah, I suppose if you've got the idea for something, I suppose the execution is kind of half of it. But I think with a great idea and a great story, anything that kind of, if you were to like, oh, that wasn't well lit, I think the audience forgives it automatically because they're invested in what they're watching. And that's how I do it always. I try not to try to think who it was that said it, but it was like, I think it was Lemmy for Scotland when a dog is sticking its head at the window and it's enjoying the breeze, it doesn't think about why it's enjoying the breeze or question how it got there. It just enjoys the breeze. And that's kind of how that's kind of how we love movies like not even Sharknado, Ouija Shark. There are movies that are just like probably filmed on an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
And it just brings us so much joy because it's so out there that it just kind of brings it to us. So we appreciate movies being made in any way in which that they can possibly be achieved.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Oh man, you would get along with my brother so well. Like he watches out for movies like Sharknado. Like he'd camp out. He would go to theaters for this stuff.
We found one. Hey.
The movie like that we found was a movie called Ouija Shark. He mentioned it, and it was clearly filmed on an iPhone. Now we're not talking about an iPhone XI or X. We're talking about like an iPhone 4, and it's the most it's probably the most fun I've ever had watching a film. But,
Nice.
but your film's different. The movie that you did, obviously you did it on a limited budget.
Mhm.
But what I would say about it is that it looks great. It really does. It really does look good. There's been a lot of time and effort put into the cinematography, the lighting. Even, I mean, we've watched other films recently where we watch it going, wow, this acting is really bad. It's not it's not like that for yours. There really seems to be some passion in what's going on. How did the process start? Like, you think, all right, I want to make this movie. How do I fund it? Where do I start? How did it come around?
So in this case, I actually started with the cast, because I was like, if especially since we have such a limited budget, we have to get the right people in place because we need really strong actors. And the first person I talked to, he happened to be in town. It was after a performance of, I think he was playing Sherlock Holmes downtown, and so we were just speaking afterwards. I'd sent him the script ahead of time, and it was an early draft, but he loved it. And this is David Wayland, the chief of police. So he actually, this casting was mostly done through referral, and we were very careful, and we took a year to just find the right people for that, for the most part, I think. And you know, it's everybody's working on other things too. So, but yeah, in this case, I started with the cast, and I actually even tweaked the script a little bit to fit the actors that we chose in the end. Yeah, so we got David, we got Sarah, then Matt, the guy who played Walsh.
Tom Walsh, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, who was accidentally dressed like Steve McQueen. Everyone thought I did that on purpose. I'm telling you live to the world on your show, complete mistake. I was like, oh, he might look good in this turtleneck that was my size until he stretched it out. I was like, you can keep it, it's fine.
So within like movies, you see sometimes the fight scenes are a bit over the top, and you as a martial artist will watch it. Like, for instance, whenever someone's watching something in my house and the actor is a guitarist, now I've been playing for like 15 years, I know if the guy's really playing it or if he's not. You know? So for you as a martial artist, what's the difference between true martial arts in a movie and the stuff that you go, come on?
It's a spot for me. It's actually one reason why I like the Bourne Identity so much, because the martial arts in that it's very practical and it's very real. You know, and when someone gets hit, they get hurt. You know, when someone gets punched in the face 20 times and their nose is fine, you know, or they fall 50 stories and somehow they're alive. Stranger things have happened in life, but it's very rare. And when you're thrown out of a window on the 5th story of a building and you hit the pavement flat, I mean, going back to the Rush Hour reference when Chris Tucker in the blooper said he ain't going to be in Rush Hour 3, that's real.
That's one of the best bloopers of all time. Just whoo, he ain't going to be in Rush Hour 3.
It really is. And so, yeah, to that point, like it's the realism. And, you know, I don't remember the movie, and there was a Korean gentleman, a Korean actor. This was in the 90s, and I apologize, I completely forget the movie. But it was just an action flick, of one of the martial arts flicks, you know, all about the fighting, really. But the guy was doing really sharp things. Like when someone would throw a kick, he'd actually sidestep it and kick them in the thigh and drop them. And what was happening to them was real. Now, the scary part, so I like it when it's believable. So everything Jackie Chan does, no matter how crazy it is, it's believable because he can really do that. You know, there are sometimes some very athletic actors who are dancers who are playing martial arts roles, or when they're fighting, and they almost punch like they're doing a dance move. That takes me out of it a bit.
Yeah, that's like the Patrick Swayze Roadhouse sort of choreography, where it looks it's a little bit shaky, but it's good fun.
Yeah. And I did like Roadhouse. Yeah.
Everybody
Oh,
likes
Roadhouse is
Roadhouse.
great.
I don't know anybody that's seen Roadhouse that thought that's a terrible movie. You know?
Anyone who says that is someone who's going out of their way to,
Yeah, just
it.
to buck the trend. Just I don't want to be like everybody else. I'm going to say that Roadhouse is terrible.
Yeah,
but it is a bad movie. You know, it's a bad movie, but you have so much fun watching it, and that's worth more a lot of the time.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the financing of an independent film, where did you start with that? I mean, what was your first hurdle that you had to overcome when trying to get the financing for it?
Right. So I actually partially financed it myself. I did as much as I could, because I was like, well, if I'm not investing in it, no one knows who I am. You know, I'm, you know, especially from an investor standpoint, I would be like not an untested gun, because I had stuff to show. And it was obvious at that point I could do things, because I made some trailers here and there and out of things. But you know, I was like, all right, if I don't believe in this, and if I don't show that I believe in this, who else is, you know, why should anyone else? So I did what I could. And then I spoke with a lot of people. I wound up having 3 or 4 others come in. And so we set it up like a normal business deal from there. So I wound up with, in total, 4 or 5 investors. And I basically said, don't invest more than you can live without.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was also like, you know, that way, I mean, the first thing I said was, I really appreciate this. Movies are a risky investment, especially now. Because it used to be, when Blockbuster was around, an indie film could still do pretty well. As long as it was halfway decent, if Blockbuster picked it up, you could make a good chunk of change, because they would buy a copy for every store, DVD and Blu-ray. And then while I was working on a project that was actually following that business model, everyone thought Netflix was going to go under, and then it went the other way. You know, Netflix is like, no, 3 more months. Come on, people will like this. And it turns out they did. And I think they're still chasing their tails, but they're doing very well. And so they wound up, and Blockbuster went under. But with that, as you know, and as we've seen, in the profit margins for independent films, especially as it's gotten easier to shoot things and get them out there, you know, we've gone from having 2,000 movies a year to like 50,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that kind of the ease of getting your movie out into the ether has obviously it's less of a burden on the filmmaker, because it's easier to get your stuff out there. But what's it like from a business standpoint, trying to get your movie noticed and amongst all these other things that are still trying to come out at the same time?
I think it's getting harder and harder, and it's you know, as you build your audience, you know, you need to maintain it and expand it. So I think the bigger the audience, you know, the easier it kind of gets, because they'll always come back. They'll at least check it out for you, and kind of thing. And you know, like anything else, you win some, you lose some. I think it also helps when you have people like my distributor, Indie Rights, and Linda Nelson, who's been absolutely wonderful and supportive, who help you along the way. Because the thing for indie producers now, which is something that's changed, especially in the last 5 years, I'd say, even though distributors pick things up, you still have to market your film. You know, which it used to be distributors did all that, and with that, but so what I liked about Indie Rights, which really helped us, is that they actually kind of help you do that. You know, they give you what is in line with what they want. And I think they're also very set up for the platforms and streaming. So when coronavirus hit, like, their business model wasn't really, it was affected, but it wasn't, because their market was already straight to the home. So they kind of, so I think companies like that, aligning with them up front helps. And you know, it can be a catch-22, because sometimes, like, they don't want to, they want to see the finished product before they'll even consider it. But getting in with those companies, and when you start, like, if you have a distribution plan up front, basically what I'm saying is that really helps on this end. And it also helps with the planning because you don't want to put more money into it than you can make on the back end. And you know, with streaming now, you almost want to, you know, the money can almost come in from advertising more than anything. You know, like the platforms that are doing ads and things like that. So, like I kind of would do I do some, you know, like a SWOT analysis, and I do a lot of different things to kind of just be like, okay, worst case scenario. Okay, the worst case scenario is you're never going to make any of your money back. So next worst case scenario, what is like the low end of what we can realistically expect if this movie, you know, and then I try to budget it around that. And I also try to build in marketing money from there too. So like on $100,000 budget, you want to have as much of that as you can for marketing. And so that kind of thing. And then on $100,000 budget, it's going to, unless you know someone, it's going to be very rare to get a name actor in there who's going to bring their own audience with it. And with that, sponsors and, you know, all these other things change. So
we've spoken to a lot of different actors, again, all saying kind of the same thing. It's like shark infested waters now. And they're saying that, you know, people will more than likely be hired based on their social media following. Because that's more impactful than what the actor can bring. You could get an actor with 5 followers that could act the pants off of the one that's got 27,000 followers, but the one at 27,000 followers brings that to the table, and that's what essentially gets them a seat. I think, right? Now, I was told that for Amazon Prime, like, is it something like it's ridiculous the kind of royalties you get, right? Now, here's the thing I'm kind of looking at. We as a podcast, right? On YouTube alone, can make some pretty decent money off of one video if enough people watch it. So I'm like, we probably, if this podcast was on Amazon Prime, we would make less than what we do on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
So has that never been something that's considered? I know that there is a way, there's a YouTube Premium that movies can be rented and stuff, but no one's doing that. Not in where we live now. People can get it for free. They want it, and they want it now. They want to watch it on their phones. It's accessible. Do you not think maybe that there is still a shift that's going to happen where maybe movies go out for free, but the ad revenue? Because if I'm watching someone's podcast and I love their show, and I'm like, well, I'm getting this for free every month. See, when an ad pops up, I'm like, I'll watch this ad. I'm going to leave this ad on because I know that the people that I care about that are making this show and do all that for me every week, they're going to get the benefit of that. Maybe that's where you know, it could go in the future. YouTube is so because it's free content. People kind of look at it as like, oh well, we kind of do that, but there's always something that's a lot more valuable about giving something to someone for free than we're seeing. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I do. I'm actually completely in line with that because Prime's, you know, every year they cut back more and more, and you know, you have to get hundreds of thousands to millions of people to watch your film on Prime, just to make pennies, really. And it's not, you know, I think there's going to be and I think it's already started, a shift towards like Tubi, and you know, especially in the independent realm where they pay based on ad revenue, and you get to watch it for free. You don't have to pay for it. And the filmmakers, the distributors, and everyone get paid based on how many ads are viewed. And I totally agree. I think that's it's probably the way of the future.
Yeah, I think the communities is where it's at, like Facebook groups and all that. If you go into, I guarantee if you take your phone out and look up independent martial arts films, you'll find a group that's got 27,000 people in it. You go in, you speak to the admin and say, you know, I've made a martial arts movie. I'm a martial artist. How about you allow me to put my a live video? You take your phone out, you go live one night, you talk to everybody about what it's like to make a martial arts movie, about some of your favorite martial arts movies, and all these fans that are in there going, oh, this is great. We as fans of this genre get to speak to someone that's done it. And now all those people that have watched your live video go to the platform to then watch your movie because they've gotten to know you through this stream. You know,
Yeah,
they've watched.
I'm writing that down. Independent martial arts.
Yeah. Honestly, they exist. Look through all the groups.
Yeah.
There are thousands of people. That's the thing
Yeah.
about where we're at these days is everybody connects online. And if you look hard enough, you'll find where it's all at. Every time we do a show, if we do a show on Stranger Things, I'm hitting up all the Stranger Things groups, right? And I'm looking through them and I go for the one, even the ones that have only got 200 followers in their group. You just join them, go in and say, guys, we want your input. We want to know from you what's going on in Stranger Things that you can tell us. Come to the show and let's do this together. Make sure they know that they're part of it, because there's giving someone a leaflet, a pamphlet, and then there's saying to someone, any chance you could come and tell me what you like and don't like, and maybe we can put a part of you in this. I think that's more to other people. That kind of, it opens the door a bit more and it creates that. To and fro. And I think that's where it's at. It's a lot of work, but I think if it's worth it, like yourself, the hard work will always pay off.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic idea, and I think it's very, very good advice. And even taking it a step further, something one of my cousins said, like he works in acquisitions for in sports entertainment, Tennis Channel, ESPN, and he was always saying he lived in Santa Monica for a while, so he was around a lot of the film people, and he was always baffled that everybody in your industry makes things and then hopes someone will like it. Why don't they go to the distributors and the people and ask them what they want and then make that? And to your point, you could even take it to that step and be like, hey, yeah, we did this. We want to do this. What are you looking for? We're looking to make our next thing. We can make it for you,
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the proper diehard fans, they've already written sheets and sheets of what they call fan fiction. Yeah. And then people follow them because of that fan fiction. It's there. It's literally there and waiting, just ready to be taken. You just put two heads together and there it is. The beauty of creativity. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The online world is still absolutely baffling to me. I mean, Kevin is so much more tuned into it than I am. Like he can see these pathways and stuff that that just never occur to me. And it's like I was saying earlier, it seems to be like it's almost easier to get your stuff out there, but it's not necessarily easier to kind of make the profit and the gains that you hope to, just because more people see it than normally would doesn't mean that you're going to be better off for making it. But I mean, Amazon Prime is a huge platform. I mean, there's most households now, well, maybe not most, but I would say 40% of households now have Amazon Prime just for the delivery service, and they happen to have the video service on the side. As a company, I mean, what was it like to approach them with your movie, or was that something that your marketing company did for you? Did they put it to Amazon?
So Indie Rights actually did that, and so they got it on Amazon. What is it? Google Play, the YouTube Premium. They also released it on Blu-ray and DVD, and it's actually still coming out on other platforms. It just came out on Tubi recently. So they've done a great job with that. But yeah, they got it on Amazon, and I think they put it on there. It's gotten to a point where like Amazon is almost used to build the audience now, because you can't really profit from it. I mean, I think the 2020 number was something like 1 cent an hour.
See, if Amazon Prime said we're going to take your podcast, I'd be like, no thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's I mean, so it's like it's I guess it's nice for that. It's also, I mean, and when it's first up, it was for kind of like they do it, the old way, like it was for rent or purchase, and then it after a certain amount of time it releases to Prime members. So yeah.
I mean, the good thing about that is the status that it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
That they're comfortable with. Well, wait a minute. If there's movies on Amazon Prime, I need to go check it out. That itself's good. I mean, but I still believe that there are other ways. I think it's all connecting. It's just connecting, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, please watch it on Tubi, because yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah. I mean, I don't know if I mean, I know Tubi's really good. I don't know if I have it set like just. I always wondered if people just recycle the movie overnight.
Mhm.
If it like, you know, if that would work, like if that was like a loophole that they've fixed yet, and if not, we should just get everybody to do this with my movie.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that's
no,
what
I should
happened
just-
with that happened with Fast and Furious. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, just recycle it and add something else, and people will
Right?
pay to see it again.
I swear that's what they did with The Hangover too. It seemed like the exact same script. Move to Hong Kong. We'll make 75 million. And they
The
did
thing is,
opening weekend.
It goes so much further back than that. If you look at Home Alone and Home Alone
Yeah, oh,
2,
yeah.
it's the same shit.
Yep.
It's exactly the same movie, yet we still look at it with that fondness and that appreciation. Oh, this is Home Alone 2 is such a good movie.
Yeah.
It's the same as the first one.
Right.
It's exactly the same, but there's certain things that we love and we will pay to see it over and over again. And one of those things is action movies, martial arts movies. Now, Checkmate in itself it's not per se a martial arts film. It's it's a thriller with elements of the martial arts in it. And that it's something that's quite rare nowadays to see a movie like that. It tends to be one thing or the other. It's either an action thriller or it's a martial arts movie. So it's nice. It was quite nice to see that mix of both in there.
Yeah, that was something that drew me to it, because it's like my character is soft. Like he's not a master. He's not like what we always see in a martial artist. He's a black belt, but he's never been in a fight. To referencing earlier, he's never been in a fight. He's the son of the former police chief. Like he was always protected. Not that he was pampered or anything, because you know he trained, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He just, he didn't think. He just saw it and was like, oh, ah! And then from there he's like, the original title was Bystander, because in the script the concept was guy stumbles at a bar and sees a kidnapping. And it's not the best log line, unless if we went comedic with it. And we had a lot of like my sense of humor in it that most of it didn't make it. You kind of see it in the blooper reel, but these little things here and there, like when he slips on the newspaper, that's the only reason he doesn't get killed. But that's true. That's messy. It's like that's why the fights were so quick.
That happened in the first Jack Reacher movie. Do you remember the bathroom fight scene? That was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. The only reason it survived that attack was because the attackers were absolutely inept. And they kept smacking their baseball bats off of bathroom tiles and shelves. And it's so funny to watch, but it's funny and exciting at the same time. And it's a nice little thing to tap into.
One thing that you tapped into, right, which Jordan and I have always kind of loved when we hear it in a movie, right, is it's like the very first scene when the checkmate's going into the guy that's tied up, and I know you hear that scream, the scream.
Yeah.
No, it's not the Wilhelm scream or the Wilhelm scream. That's a different thing. But what is that scream called? We couldn't find it.
I will have to ask my editor who did that, Tyson, because he had it. He was like, "This is perfect for this," and I was like, and I hate the Wilhelm scream. Like that will never be, because it's in too many things, and it's so specific. It takes me out of the movie when they do it like a signature, and it's like, come on, man. So I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, that was done in 1977. Come on, and it's in everything. I'm like, ah,
Do you know the Wilhelm scream? The Wilhelm scream goes right back to the 1950s. That's the scary part of it. That's how long this has been. It originally showed up in a Western with an actor whose first name was Wilhelm. But the scream that you used is not that one. Just want to say that again. It's not that one, but it's still a scream that you hear in a lot of movies.
And I wonder if that guy gets royalties. He's like, that's my scream.
Well, no, I don't know. It's one of those things where they got it from. I don't think he got it from public domain, but got the rights before.
Yeah.
So he must get something.
Me, I bet he's sitting there smoking a cigar on a sun lounger next to a pool, being like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's it. He's sitting in a multi-million-dollar mansion, going, "Yeah, you know what, guys? Got this from a fucking Scream."
and his friends come round and they go, do the scream, do the scream. He's like, everybody's like, every time.
So my kind of related story. My uncle Mike wound up on a plane with the original Tarzan, and he said he was sitting by him, and he goes, "Hey, are you?" And he goes, "Yeah." And this is a long time ago. This is like, I think the 50s, 60s kind of thing. And he goes, "So did you come? Who does the scream?" And he goes, "I do." They go, no, you don't do that. Come on. And he goes, no, that's my scream. He's like, oh. And then Uncle Mike was hardcore Brooklyn, that big, huge Yankees fan. And, he has that, that accent and everything. And so it's real thick. And he's like, come on, prove it. He's giving them all that thing. And the guy goes, yeah, it's me. And he just belts it out on the plane and scares the crap out of everybody. He would be kicked off today. Back then, he blew like 14 eardrums and everyone's like, excuse me, sir, you have violated code 37 of the whatever.
Yeah, someday will have him on TikTok being ripped off a plane.
Tarzan not allowed to fly.
Man removed from plane for refusing to wear a mask and yelling like Tarzan.
It's gonna happen.
GTA Galbo says, "This guy is class." That's you. They're referring to Giuseppe. No one ever thinks we're class.
This guy is class. That is the most Scottish phrase. This guy is class is another way of saying I really like this man.
Oh, cool. Wait, is it sarcastic or is it?
No.
Oh,
No, that's a Scottish thing.
Thank you, sir.
If in Scotland someone says you are class, that means it's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Cool. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Earlier, Stephen Thompson had actually said that Big Stan was a prime example. This was us referring to martial arts movies that were kind of taken in jest, and that's where it's the guy for Kill Bill, isn't it?
It's David Carradine and what's the Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider plays Big Stan. And it's the most ridiculous, funny, crazy film. I think it's like it's almost like it's like an Adam Sandler film that they couldn't afford Adam Sandler for.
I mean, it was made by the same company, so
yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
So in the movie, every time that we spoke to someone that's made a movie, like you're the guy that made this, they always kind of say that they create a character like themselves. Now I'm going to imagine that character was the character you played. Did you base any of the other characters off people you knew, or was this people of TV? Or
so I actually I think people will find this hard to believe, especially people I know. I didn't actually write this character for me. I had I mean, there I think when you write, especially a main character, there's always a piece of you. Sometimes, but I mean, you put a lot into it, but I didn't actually intend to play the character. It wound up I would actually say I was probably the 7th or 8th person cast. And it certainly wound up saving me money. But, that helped with the budget. And then it wound up being like, I'm the one doing most of the stunts, so that saved on insurance. And I lost, and I'm running most of the time, which is one reason why he's alive. He's smart enough to just, get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. What is that? I'll be okay. He just takes off. And I lost 20 pounds that month.
What?
Yeah.
God.
I was like,
wow.
Yeah, I didn't, it's weird too, because I think I notice it in the footage, not so much the movie, but the footage, the raw footage, and some of the stuff we didn't use. I was like, man, I look really tired. And this was a well-organized shoot, if I do say so myself. Thanks for that. This was a really well-organized shoot. Like the average actor was on set 6.5 hours. The longest day for me, including travel, and I was first one there, last one out, and you know, I was crashing on my parents' couch, so I was like, well, I guess in my room, you know, whenever I go home. But it was so the longest day I had was 12 hours, and I remember being like, normally when we shoot, I'm always like struggling to get 8 hours of sleep, and I'd sleep and we'd have more time. It was a very kind of well-oiled machine, if you will. So I was like, I almost didn't know what to do with some of my spare time, because I was like, I have spare time. This is crazy. But the actors were so prepared and able to just, you know, most of the scenes were nailed in the first couple takes. I mean, you see it in the blooper reel. We had things like the gun not going off and normal stuff. But
one thing I noticed was that there was a lot of doors that just didn't open when they were supposed to, and that's something that we'll look at in the bloopers later.
We filmed in a real police station. Like the chief's office is actually the chief of police's office in Canonsburg, Chief Coghill. He was great, and he has so. Most people probably don't see it because we did really cut around it, but there's a gold record in his office on the back wall, and that is a true gold record of his. He was part of some like music production 20 years ago, I think. As an officer, he helped somehow. I don't know if he was like on set security, or I'll have to ask him. But he actually has a gold record. So I think so. Some people, like the cast, was like, "Why did you put this in here?" And the chief walked in one day and he's like, "Oh no, that's mine."
Yeah, I just left that there. Thought it'd be good in the movie.
Yeah, it was perfect. And I was like, "Hey, leave it. Let's see if it'll be our Easter egg, or one of so many." Every mistake was an Easter egg, right?
It ends up on IMDb.
Did you find that the movie evolved as you were making it, or was it? Did it stick to the script pretty well from the beginning? No,
not at all. So like the second day of shooting, we shot where Checkmate catches up to us, and we're out there, and so we didn't have a props master, you know, low budget film. So we borrowed a prop from a cast member who didn't know that we needed it the next day, which was my fault. So I turned around to Sarah, who is an excellent actress, who's actually in Cobra Kai right now. She was season 4. And so I go, "Hey, how would you feel about just improvising this scene?" And she goes, "Sure. Why?" And I said, "Well, we didn't bring the laptop bag that we're supposed to be running around, because in the script we actually look at the laptop and all the pictures that she's going through, which would have been like a green screen on the thing or whatever, but and then she's like, this one, that, and sees the thing on the arm that we don't really reference now, but so I was like, why don't we just bicker like brother and sister? Because after all that stuff in the apartment, the one reason we go back, I think it's actually better that there was like no point in them going there. They completely forgot it, and they just risked their lives for nothing and doing the dumbest thing they could do, which, and then they get into this argument about it. And, and bless her heart, Sarah was like, yes. And that was something she loved about the script, because it wasn't like, oh, martial artist is running around and woman falls in love with her. She's like, she loved the bickering and the bantering. And there was a lot more in the script than, well, like anything else, there's always more in the script that winds up in the movie. But
I think there's actually a scene where Kyle is actually running about looking for the laptop bag, which is funny you say that. He's like, I need a bag for the laptop. And he's like, what are you doing? With Checkmate, right? One thing I noticed about, I don't know if it was deliberate, but at the start, he's very much like, find out where it is, bring it. And then his voice starts to change towards the end, where it's more like, is that to throw the cops off the scent? And he's going to disguise his voice. Because I was like, is that the same guy? Because his voice it almost kind of Kermit the Frog, his voice towards the end. But then again, his voice kind of came back. So I don't know if that was just me picking up on it, but I thought, has his accent changed?
That was a good pickup, because a lot of people, don't with her. But in the script, we had him doing all different kinds of accents. Trying to throw it around. And then what we don't go into, we actually cut some of it, but what we don't go into is when they were doing the video camera with the first chief and stuff, he was playing with that. He was always doing like this accent. So he kind of goes back and forth. And we when Kyle breaks into that bike shop and he's playing on the computer, he pulls up an article and it only flashes really quickly. And I think that was just my personal preference because I like it when there's like, if you're not paying attention and you miss something, like it's gone. So he's like, there's some article about like, is Checkmate Irish or something like that. And then in the article, they're talking about using a bad accent. And, and James was cool. Like, I was like, look, this is, this is a guy who hasn't like really practiced an accent. So like, he's just doing it to mess with people. He was like, no, that's cool. He actually asked if he could do Irish, and I was like, sure. And because it was Russian and I think German in the script, and he was like, what if we could, because we don't see him that much, so it's like maybe just one accent would be better. And so it was cool. But yeah, and then in the story, it's like, how things, the ripple effect, and people talk about all these different things. Well, he was like, I was like, people are going to take it the wrong way and stuff. So, because they don't know, so as they're investigating the crime, like, does he have we don't think he has a bad accent. We actually think he's someone who lived in Ireland, who is a local now, who's been here for 20 years, and his accent is kind of merged with the Pittsburgh accent. So he actually does something very subtle, too, with that. Like, he was flipping between a Pittsburgh accent and a no accent, which was very subtle. But like when he calls in, he shoots the cop and then he calls it in. He uses like a really thick, like Yinzer, they call it, the Yinzer accent. It's Yins. Yinzer are gonna go get some beer and watch the game, something like that. I don't have that accent, but you hear it in Pittsburgh in pockets, and very, very local.
See, I kind of thought when Kyle runs to that kind of warehouse looking place, and and the guy's fighting with the girl who you kind of think, that's her, and he shoots her in the head, and I'm like, and I thought to myself, right, okay, because most major movies, right, of this genre, you get the ending that you expect, right, and I'm completely all for, like, imagine The Bourne Identity where like it just gets shot in the head at the end and they walk away. It's like, I'm all for that because I'm like, yes, this could happen in real life. It could end this way. And by the way, more than likely it will end this way if you were to do something like that in real life. Okay. So I kind of thought, wow, they've shot her. I bet you Kyle's going to get it next. Right? Yeah. But then I was like, oh, and you went up and she's like, I was like, oh, it's not the same girl. I was like, oh, I see what you did there. You tried to throw a curveball there to make us think that she'd been killed. But I did think to myself, I was like, that would have been quite cool had like Kyle just got kicked in and just left in the dark.
I thought about it. So I actually really thought about doing that.
I think I
really did. And the only reason it wasn't her was because the money wasn't where they thought it would be. We lost Jay.
Yeah, I think his camera's having issues, technical jigger jabbing. J Mac's really bad with the technical stuff, so if there's an issue, he'll be throwing his computer about trying to find it, fix it right now. But don't worry, he'll be back. I'll assume. I thought I did like that at the end. The real bad guy did get away, so it kind of made me think. Well, maybe there could be a second. I don't play chess. So in the terms of if there was to be a sequel for Checkmate, would that be like Checkmate something chess related?
I feel like we could be silly and be like Checkmate again, like because you can't get Checkmate twice. You've already won. Right. I don't know. Someone mentioned a Knight's Gambit. All right. Yeah, because there's the Queen's Gambit. So, but that I have. So. What did you think about the way we shot the very end, without spoiling it for everybody? But there's this like little, the last thing you see when Arash is standing there watching everyone, and hey,
sorry,
internet problems.
Oh wow, connection issues.
Yeah, Kevin keeps telling me to get an Ethernet cable, do the Ethernet connection, and I've still never done it.
It does help. It does help tremendously.
Like majorly.
Yeah, I did an update this morning, and I was like, let's make sure the drivers are all good for this, and everything went wrong. And I'm like, oh, of course. I spent an hour on the computer for no reason this morning. I should have just left it the way it was. And classic.
The very ending, the last I saw was, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it was the character that we refer to without spoiling. He had these guys basically done this and all that. And then the other guy, the handsome looking fella, his name is Detective Marco.
Yes.
He was kind of what was the exact ending to that? I just remember
he was standing over the bag. And then he was like looking, the chief was looking at the police, at the girl.
Yeah.
Walsh just walked off. You assume because the cavalry's coming or to start doing his job. I'm dying in the back seat. And I'm like, that was something, since we're talking, we're going deep into spoilers here. One thing I didn't want was Kyle saving the day. I didn't think he would. I think he kind of like, no good deed goes unpunished. So once he stepped in and ran, in real life, you'd be like, oh yeah, the police are going to come and it's fine. You're like, no, now you're getting blamed for all this.
That's why I never help old ladies cross the road, because I know that's going to happen.
Yeah, they're going to trip and say you pushed them over.
The way in which the Checkmate, I won't say he meets his end for anybody that's not seen it, right? But but the chase, right?
Yeah.
I kind of expected, because all the way through the movie, you create this character that, for us, I'm thinking, I wouldn't like to be doing business with this guy at all. Yeah. I don't want to go for a coffee with him, nothing, right? Because I just don't know where I'm going to end up.
Yeah.
He is perceived as very dangerous and very unleashed. You don't know what he's going to do next. He probably just makes it up on the go, right? So I'm like,
this is why I do a podcast with you, Kevin.
I was thinking it'd probably be a fair thing to say that it's going to be tough to take him out, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're a big bald dude, right? Playing chase. Because he literally just grabs him and is like one-handed. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no! Where's the fight?
So that was actually a reference to Rob Roy.
Right.
In the beginning, when that guy's playing around and he's not messing around. Like, that was very real for me. So it's like, these things are short. And once a real fight starts, it's 4 to 10 seconds typically. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I was like, and Matt's a pretty big dude. And he's a cop who is like not messing around. So yeah. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, the thing I loved about him as well is he just kind of comes in, goes, and then goes, right. It's yours now.
He's like still fired up in the moment, and then he's like,
it's just like this guy just bulldozes in on this scene. Fuck shit up, and then it's like, right.
Sweet. He's like, hey, I'm getting out of work early. That took 10 seconds. I'm getting out of here. Someone else can do the paperwork.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's true. It's one thing. It's one thing where most martial arts films and stuff, they kind of lose a bit of credibility when there's these guys fighting one-on-one for 30, 40, 50 minutes at the end of the movie. It's like you can't. Nobody, regardless of how physically fit you are, nobody can sustain that level of physical exertion and just not be dead within 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that.
And it's a good observation. See, I mean, like seeing Braveheart in the back. I mean, I have a lot of history friends, and they would say, people in battles, people would be exhausted after 12 minutes. So they had waves come in so they could get the survivors out, I guess, give them a little reprieve, and they'd kind of have to circle, because you can't swing a sword for your. I mean, you're hyped up, but like 4 hours. I mean, some of these battles lasted all day, but like usually the first ones in were the first ones out. Unfortunately,
yeah,
you want to be in the back. And it's like, you want to be an archer with all the like knight armor. So when the archers get overrun, you can still fight. You know, because they make the archers always look out to be these like little like, oh no, I can't do anything. And that's not true. Those guys can fight better than anyone today.
if you're in the NBA and you're on the starting team, that's a good thing. If you're in a battle in 1500, being on the starting team is not a good thing.
Yeah. You know, I was like, actually, I've got the flu. I shouldn't get out there. They're going to send you alone. Give it to them. Yeah.
I kind of felt bad when. Now, I did think, because there's two bald guys, right?
Yeah.
I did think that here's what I thought, right? Because one of the bald guys is good friends with the chief, and then we see how much that friendship is worth, right?
Yeah.
So later on, when I see a bald guy chasing down Checkmate, I'm like, did he die?
Yeah.
I see that solid that it's like, oh, just a scratch.
You know, so in the original cut, we didn't show the blade go back.
Right.
And we decided for that reason, we would show it. And that's why he's standing over that thing and he pulls out and you see those pills that, you know, obviously they can't communicate that they're pills because Checkmate's watching and he's got his daughter. He doesn't know she's in the trunk, but he's got her somewhere. And so, you know, he puts his arm around, slaps him in the mouth, pops, and we wound up showing the blade pop back in so it would be a little more believable when he shows up later. Yeah. And
so it was him?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was dead.
No, it was all fake. Jay was right. I'm assuming from the body language.
Right. See, here's the thing. I think at the time my daughter had come into my room while I was watching it.
It's very quick. It's very quick. Yeah.
So why did he not take out his friend at the end then? But you just tried to kill me.
What's that? What did he not do?
The guy that killed the bald guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's there at the end when the bald guy snaps the boy's neck.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be like, "Hey, why did you try and stab me?"
Oh, he did it in a more nonchalant way. He was like, he taps him on the thing, goes, "That hurt, you know." And then the chief starts going, "I didn't have time to explain," and he's like, "I got it, no worries. I really want to do this. I want to get out of here."
I didn't have time to explain, so I tried to kill you.
Yeah.
It's all good. Oh man,
all good.
There has to be a sequel. There's the sequel.
So I do have a concept for it, and but it's all revolving around the very, very, very last thing that I was hinting at before. When with Marku, as you were saying, where he's kind of looking around, and you know there's just a bag of money sitting in the middle of the thing.
Mm.
So yeah, it's kind of, it cuts with him. I did have a number of people go, "Did Marku just steal the money?" And they waited till the end of the credits thinking there would be another shot. Because that money still has to get to the FBI. And the chief is distracted by his daughter. Walsh is fucked off. And just it's just gone, you know? He's like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. You guys should see what happened. There's a dead body over there. It's nuts. Clock out. Who wants coffee? Who wants a drink?
You know, Marku, the actor who plays Marku, based on the blooper reel, he looked like he was a bit of a joker.
He was hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to that shortly, but yeah, I mean, how much fun was it to make this film? I mean, this is your baby, your project. How much fun was it to work on it, and how did you feel about it when you were doing it? It
was a blast. We were cracking up the whole time. I mean, that apartment we found that day. We were filming in the Heinz Lofts. They were, you know, very great. And we did a little shifting around at the last second. And some, like many independent films, something had fallen through. And the assistant manager was like, "You can use my place." Like, all right. So we get up there and we're like, it's really tight. And but we're like, we'll do this. And you know, that was one of the first things we shot was the guy jumping out of the bed.
Yeah, what a strange place to hide.
Yeah, and you know, he's sitting there like, there's no place to hide in here. When I was writing this, I was cracking up Because I was like, when people break into rooms in movies, like they never look under the mattress.
There's a dude under my mattress.
But, why is my mattress 8 inches higher than normal?
Maybe spit on my computer. Oh yeah, no, I mean, but that's how I felt writing it. Like how you got, yeah. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. And when we put them under the mattress, it hovered like 3 inches above the box spring, and everyone's like, "This is ridiculous." And the weapons guy comes in and goes, "I don't know, we got this." And he balances it on him, so it is literally bouncing and hovering. And but because of the way it's framed, like, and with the cinematic bars, you don't see that part. So when I sit on it, like the back end actually comes up, got a little teeter totter, and oh yeah, like and getting the gun to go off at the right time, when he whips it out, or just getting it. He was in a really awkward position. Mateo was a trooper.
I really like the fact that it's the way you kind of go in and you're like, wait a minute, like you can sense there's something under a mattress. Wait a minute.
The pee, only this thing was like, so, but in my head, I'm like, they always do this and the blankets are always messy. They rip the blankets off, they look under the bed, but in between the mattress, someone, maybe some child could actually hide in there and probably suffocate. So, yeah, so I we did this and I'm like, you know what? If someone breaks into my house with guns, I know now, never hide under the mattress. It is so obvious. It's not even funny.
I thought that maybe you just watched Last Action Hero, because there's a part where Arnold Schwarzenegger walks into a room and he just, without saying anything, gets an Uzi out and shoots the cupboard, and a guy falls out, and the guy's like, "How'd you know I'd be in there?" He's like, "They're always in there." I thought you were like, right.
There's always a guy in there. Cost me a fortune in closet doors.
That's awesome.
So for that, I thought, right, you've watched that, and we're not going with it. We're going with the bed.
Yeah. I'm sitting there like the whole time. There was really no place to hide in that place. So it's a 1-bedroom apartment. It was a nice apartment, but it was a 1-bedroom, and so I was like, you know what? Let's do the most ridiculous thing we can think of.
I enjoyed it. I laughed when I saw it. So,
yeah, good. That's what we were going for. I was like, what?
it's like a bad guy comes in. He's like, right, I need to hide somewhere.
Yeah. So the scene where he's arguing and bicker. What was that?
I said that'll do under there.
Nice. So where he's the scene where he's bickering with Checkmate. There's no place to hide or something. We actually shot that in later, just to kind of accentuate why he went under the bed, but that wasn't in the script.
Right, yeah. It makes sense.
So I had him call in. He lives in San Francisco, so I had him just record it, and record on the phone, send it to me. It took like 10 minutes.
Everything's so digital these days, huh?
Yeah.
Aside from obviously being no room in that flat, what other kind of big challenges did you kind of come up against when filming? Was there anything that was like, oh well, this has just screwed up everything?
I think we were, from a logistics standpoint, I was so I was hyper prepared because I was worried about that. So outside of like forgetting the laptop that one day, or the bag or her computer, which I think worked out better. Anyway, it was a sign. There was a short scene where I break into my boss's car. Cassandra Fucifino, which I was like, in Italian it's Fucifino, but it's actually fuck if I know. It's like she's a doctor. She needs a last name. Fuck if I know.
Fuck if I know.
Yeah.
Fucifino.
Yeah. Like in an earlier project, I had a guy named Dr. Shithayed, and I never spelled it right in the. Yeah, I spelled it Shithayed in the script, so he wouldn't know. So when he was credited, it would say Dr. Shithead. He did a small role in a thing. He was a buddy of mine. So yeah.
Fucifano. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, we did that. But we were filming in the parking garage, and I thought it was like a city garage and we were allowed to film in it, but it was privately owned. So the security guard comes up and goes, I mean, he comes out like guns blazing. If he had guns, like they would have been out. And he's like, what are you guys doing up here? We gotta get ready. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, we're with the city filming a movie. And he goes, you can't do that. Yeah, this isn't city property. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's just me. And I start talking to him. I tell him what we're doing and show him all this. And he goes, oh, well, you can film in the alley. So we made it look like the garage or like a parking lot or something. But that was a really like dark and dank alley that, we're jumping around and, I was like, so I, we troubleshooted like that. We had, we'll say the statute of limitations is up. There was one night we were filming outside of a bar and people were yelling, and an actor came up. I won't say who, but he was dressed as a cop, and he came up and said, "Hey, he just came up as a good person to back me up because I'm standing around 5 drunks, and it's just me." So he comes over to be like, hey, is there a problem? And they're all like, no, sorry. I'm like, and I was just like, hey, if you guys can be quiet, we can film this and get out of here so you guys can continue being belligerent. And and they were like, being what? And I'm like,
we're drunk. We don't know what belligerent means.
So yeah, and he didn't think, he was just coming over, but he was dressed as an officer. So they thought he was a real cop, and we were using real police uniforms, and real badges and everything. Yeah. So,
just impersonated a cop. That's right.
Yeah. Whoops. It was accidental. No harm, no foul. We were also filming at the police station across the street, so it just gave us that much more authenticity.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
If there's upon watching it and the whole experience on a whole, if you could look back and change maybe one thing, is there something you would go back and definitely change?
Oh, I don't know. I think people always think things like that, especially with indie film. Like, so the scene, the ending was actually supposed to have a lot of police. Walsh is running with like this armada behind him, and it was supposed to be in this field, and it's this long run, and he just chases Checkmate down. And Checkmate, and one thing about that is, it all happens so fast, it doesn't really play, but he's exhausted at this point. He's been up all night. He's been running around the city. He hasn't really eaten anything except an apple, half an apple. He just eats it and throws it. And, so by the time Walsh catches up to him, he's really weak, and, or not weak, he's hyped up, but he's really like, strung out. And, obviously Walsh he's been up all night too, but he eats, he takes care of himself. But anyway, I forget what I was saying now.
Yeah, it was just basically if there was anything that you would change if you had
thanks. To so yeah, like if I could have gotten more police for that ending, and made it feel like that, I guess I would have given that Die Hard feeling. Everybody's swooping in.
Every cop in the city.
Yeah. And I think I don't know, most of my thoughts are on the sequel, I guess, when it comes to stuff like that. Like, this is what we did, we got it done. And I mean, if like someone gave me a large budget to reshoot it because that's what they wanted, I'd just make it more intense. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I would probably, Now, you see, now the brain's working, so I could probably answer this in a day. But no, so like the sequel would pick up right where this left off, because there's something unanswered. There's quite a bit unanswered, but it's all in how Marku walks off camera, which you see a little bit in the bloopers, but and what he does. But yeah, so basically, like, the money has to get somewhere. This was all about that, and which is only referenced up until Walsh figures it out when in that picture in the beginning. And when they first talk about when he first gets hired and is like, it's moving in 2 days. So this is all a big thing just to, get into the, just to create mayhem and distraction and get everybody focused on someone else. And he's adapting with it. This wasn't the original plan. But really he was being manipulated himself. This was just someone else was doing something. This actually, everything has gone according to plan. And we find out who that is. And I'm not saying it's the person we've been talking about at the very end. It could be someone else. But
it's like
so
the next one. What was that?
Sorry, it was just. Do you feel like you made the movie that you set out to make when you started?
As my first film, I would say yes. I think it's we knew we knew we weren't making the French Connection, but we were going to make the best we could. And I think with all the things you run into in independent film, and even with big films, it's amazing how many big sets feel like small sets. You got people on rickety ladders hanging off with stuff, and I'm like, you have a $20 million budget. What are you doing? Or like these movies where it's like someone rides the bat cycle into a wall and ruins it. And it's like, why didn't anyone pay $100 to get her lessons? $200 million movie. They'll just get her another bike. Not her fault. I'm not saying that happened, but I was in Pittsburgh when they were filming. So, and funny side note, because I meant to say it earlier, when you were talking about Jack Reacher and that fight scene, that was filmed very close to the scene we were talking about in Checkmate, because both films were filmed in Pittsburgh. So we had a lot of similarity. We were crossing paths years later, but yeah, I think. There's always that learning curve too. So looking back is easy because it's like, yeah, I would do a lot of things differently probably. But at the time, like, I'm pretty proud of what we did with what we had. I mean, we produced way beyond our means.
Absolutely. And the way I would look at it is how many people, as a percentage of the population, how many people have made a movie? Not many. So to just achieve that, to make a feature film from start to finish, that you wrote, directed, starred in, it's very impressive, man. And I take my hat off to you. I would take my hat off, but my hair looks fucking ridiculous right now because of COVID.
Let's see it. I really appreciate that. Let's see.
It's going grey. Kevin, I never told you this, but I'm starting to
Oh,
go grey.
jeez, he's got a grey hair.
Every hair is the same length. Every single one. There's no style in this. It's just
man,
gray. And
I was expecting like lines back to here and this and like this.
Oh no, that's Kevin.
Where did George go? Where did he go? I wonder where he went.
Oh, he cut me off. You son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch. So you mentioned about the bloopers, J Mac. So to wrap up the show, what we will do is we will bring up the bloopers on like a share screen, and we'll kind of just laugh along together with the audience. And if there's a funny story with the blooper, by all means, tell me, and I shall stop.
Sure.
I shall stop the thingy so we can kind of talk about it a little bit. Where am I? Here we go. So this is the first time we've actually. Oh, here we are. First time I've ever shared this. So let's go for it.
Nice.
Bloopers. Can you guys hear that all right? Yeah?
No.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, no. Like I said, first time.
You got it on mute? Or no, it looks like it's on not.
No, 1 second. I think I know what it is. I think I need to select the on it.
While you're fixing that, I'll talk about the doors. Because we were filming in a real police station. Every door just automatically locked.
Right.
No, that's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
I fixed the audio issue.
That's why on one of the bloopers you actually say, "Don't let it close. Don't let it close." You're right. Okay, that
we were
sense.
stuck in there. Yeah.
Now we can enjoy this together. You guys hear all right now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Call the cops!
He was so much fun. Every scene.
Yeah.
What's going on? What happened? Let me know what's in that footage. You got it.
Oh yeah, so the advertisement.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, we just had the TV playing.
What's going on? What happened? Let me know what's in that footage.
This happened a number of times. Matt just-
I love this one.
yeah, we wanted her eating over a dead body. We didn't direct him on how to get shot first, so we forgot what we were gonna do.
It's like, oh, my balls.
That's the chief of police and his wife, and she shoved him into traffic. Like, it doesn't show as much on that, but when she like shoved him in reaction.
And trip.
My foot got stuck on his shirt. I landed on my head.
Funny, this
God.
crew and the guy stealing Wi-Fi behind us.
Oh yeah, can you pause it real quick?
Yeah.
When we were filming those scenes around that building, it was 2 a.m, and there was some random guy there the whole time, and we thought he was watching us. He was actually stealing internet from the building. He goes there every night and checks his email.
This is America, baby.
Fuck yeah.
I'm taking that Wi-Fi.
Oh, we forgot. I actually forget what that was in reference to. Oh yeah, I
Trip.
slipped.
You know, you're so coordinated as a martial artist, and you couldn't climb a set of fucking stairs.
We didn't dust. Yeah, he tapped the cameraman in the balls. Yeah, that one
Yeah.
really hit.
Yeah, she got you, man. I could feel
Oh,
that.
good. Yeah. Amanda was hysterical. Every time she lost her lines, I mean, it was just.
Yeah, she
So
was
we told
having
her-
fun. She
Oh
was
yeah,
having
she was
fun.
great. We told her for this scene, just go off, just as much cursing as you can do, and we were just gonna film until she couldn't anymore.
She seems so much more pleasant when she's out of character.
Yeah, she's a gem. She's hilarious. Yeah.
And reverse by accident. There we go.
Yeah. I did not. That was just, like it's in there, boom, and yeah, I slapped him on the butt accidentally.
I love this one. Stop looking at my ass. Take it back to you, porn.
She was like she was great. First take every time, like, so I was, giving her crap. Yeah, and I actually stabilized that because you couldn't see it at all. But as that scene went on, the camera guy just starts shaking.
You see that on a lot of old stand-up videos, like stand-up comedy. You see the camera shaking.
There he is.
The guys are laughing. Ah, there he is.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, this was great. The gun didn't go off at all. There's one take, I don't think we put it in here, but she actually, the first take, she doesn't like accidentally shoot him. She like slowly aims and fires.
Here we
And
go.
the
Here come the doors. Locked.
That was the only non-police story.
Locked.
Yeah, we shot that on purpose on him because at this point, so this night we were so loopy. I mean, it was day 12.
Where'd you guys crack it up before the scene started?
Let me in.
Oh, Fluffy.
Yes.
Let's go shopping. Like turtlenecks.
Scene 147. B, take one.
Yep.
Don't let it shut.
Locked.
Yeah. Yeah, our little plastic thing here did not work. Neither did the timing of the first take.
That's actually something I meant to ask you about earlier on, was the difference between real martial arts and movie martial arts, and how hard it is to kind of separate yourself. And
I asked him that.
Mhm.
was
Oh,
I,
Were you?
was I somewhere
you
else?
here? You must have been, mate. He explained it.
And live stream.
But you know, it's interesting. It's very different working with actors than it is working with to build on it for you. It's different working with actors than athletes and martial artists, and because a lot of actors are all of that. Like so many actors study so many things. They're so good at a lot of different things, and they're very talented people. So it's really cool when you run across some that are, you know, or like John, who I'm fighting in that scene, who is not only did he have a full military career and then go into this stuff, but he, you know, yeah, so he knew how to handle himself. He'd been in some real situations, of course. And so it was nice moving with him, because these guys are all like, hit me. Because they like, I need to be hit to know. And whereas actors know how to, like, you know, sell it and whatnot. And it's also interesting because in a fighting situation, you're not going to move like you do on camera. So that's the balance. It's like the actors know how you might overextend and you might actually move slower because the camera doesn't pick it up the same as, like, it's always funny when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar talks about his fight scene with Bruce Lee and says how they asked us to slow down for the camera because we were so fast. And I'm like, yes, they asked both of you to slow down because you both were so fast.
Yeah, totally, both of you.
Yes. Yes.
Class.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't he look like Bert? He's a good friend of mine, I can say that.
Another locked door.
Yeah. Oh, and I love it because the sound guy would start laughing before it happened. Like, he'd just see it and he wouldn't say anything. He'd just let it happen and laugh.
Scene 136, take 4. Scene 136, take 5.
Well, let's get on it.
Oh, this is when he really comes into his own now.
Let the lady go first.
Yeah, there was some tornado siren or something going off outside.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, it was real.
I love that one. Actually, Kev, can you put that back so I can hear it?
Yep.
There's the Wilhelm.
Yes. The new one.
There's the gold record.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Whatever.
All right.
So there are like 20 different takes of this. They were just giving each other crap. I just fell.
Oh, shit.
It was so
belly.
We didn't mean for the horn to go off here.
Oh, yeah, I
Just
noticed that
happened.
one. It's like,
He threw himself in the car so
oh,
hard.
here we go.
Because I'm the chief of police. Can you dig it?
He's like, I've had 5 of these.
I've had 5 of these.
Yeah, he really hit him there.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can actually hear it. It's got that fleshy sound.
Yeah, and I use that sound in much of the movie.
Oh, yeah, look good.
Yeah, James is tough. He used to box, so yeah. So he was like, "I'm fine, let's go."
Yeah, he took that one like a champ.
Yeah. He could not keep that on him to save his life. And that suit, so when he saves me was the first or second thing we shot with him. Oh, here we go. This is what happens after the movie. Yeah, when he saves me, he ripped the pants. And an extra happened to be a seamstress. So she like saved it during dinner.
you know what? I love that one. He's
Oh,
kinda
I'm
stroking
sorry.
her
I
hair.
talked through it. Ah,
No,
yeah.
that's actually, Kev, put that back. That's a good one. No, no. Okay.
So they actually were going to do that. Yeah.
And now kiss her.
It's like a casting couch.
I didn't know they actually planned on
kiss
doing
her.
that. Yeah. This was about an hour of straight laughter in real life. We just were so loopy that night. We have fun.
Yeah.
Looks a lot of fun.
Kyle or Katie or any of us.
Well, this is something we hope to do one day, and I hope we have as much fun as that. So
Oh, you will. Hey, maybe we'll do it all together.
Yeah, hey, when the stars align.
he's a cheese ball.
Oh yeah.
Did you sleep with Kyle?
So that scene was all about the McCurdy look because he's in Blacklist, he's in Daredevil, and he's got this like he plays that sniper a lot that and he's got this like real like hardcore soldier military look. And in Daredevil he was in 6 episodes, and I laugh because what happened to him, to what he did, to what Walsh does to Checkmate, Vincent D'Onofrio does to him in Daredevil. I mean, he's playing a really intelligent guy, and it's literally like, hey, what's that? And he looks and dies. I'm going to strangle you with my shirt, and kind of thing. And so I remember texting him going like, you would never die that way. But yeah, he... so we had a lot of fun with that.
It looks to have been a lot of fun. I think it'd be really interesting to kind of see more of all the stuff that you guys look like you're having a real good laugh. I mean, for the kind of movie it is as well, like a very serious movie, but then you see all these kind of actors that you've seen the different side to the characters. It's good for it's a nice contrast.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and it's a real testament to their abilities because they could like be laughing constantly right up to the shoot. And except for the looping night, it was suddenly like, and Sarah's the most, she was so amazing to watch because she's so nice and she's such a wonderful person. And she'd be like, laughing and goofing off and stuff. And then like right up to action. And then bam, she's just on it. And, it's amazing. She's one of those that like, she can be laughing, action, and just tears are coming out. She's really solid, and they all are. I mean, they're it was a great cast. I was very fortunate. They really went down. Like I married up.
Yeah. That's the thing though.
This is the big question. So how much did it end up costing you? What was the entire budget for the film by the time it was finished, including, this is something that's never mentioned, including your marketing?
So the distributor asked me not to say.
Oh,
Jordan, you always ask that question.
Do you know
Why?
that it feels dirty and I like it.
Yeah. They're like, if people know the budget, they won't watch it. And I'm like, if people knew the budget, they'd hire me tomorrow. What do you think it was?
Oh, I would say, oh God. See, we work in pounds. We don't work in dollars. And,
I can do the conversion.
Right, for pounds.
Well, look, how about we do this, right? So
I've just put myself on the spot. How fucking stupid is that?
The last filmmaker that we had on, right, for
Yeah.
Justice on Trial, how much was his budget, Jordan?
By memory, I think it was around, was it 300,000? 400,000?
Yours has to be more than that.
Yeah, I think you're up maybe 2 to 2.5 mil.
Wow. Thank you.
Just because of how it looks.
Thank you. I was probably, I have to say now, I was probably 1% of that.
Wow.
Fuck off. Sorry.
No, truly. Yeah.
Ah,
Wow.
I mean, just goes to show. I mean, I think when you do something that looks that good on a low budget, it's got to have every single person in that has to really put their heart and soul into it, and I think that's probably a testament to why it looks so good.
Thanks. I'm like so warm and fuzzy right now.
I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, you didn't. It's not. What was the movie example you used
French
earlier
Connection.
on?
The French
Yeah,
Connection.
it's not French Connection. It's not, but it looks way better than it should based on what you just told us. So
Oh, thanks. Wait. Was that 2.5 to 3 pounds?
million
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah. That's right. I had about 1% of that. Yeah.
Oh wow! Well, it's been an absolute pleasure watching it and speaking to you. I mean,
Thank you.
this is one of the joys that we have doing the podcast, means that we get to talk to because we'd be having this conversation, Jordan and I, if we didn't have a podcast. I mean, that's literally how we started the podcast. We were having these conversations about
Oh, that's
movies
fantastic.
and our workings. You know, why don't we just do it as a podcast? And when we get the opportunity to speak to people about the projects, because that's our thing. We watch movies, we talk about it. Our friendship is based on that. So.
Yeah.
To be able to speak to the people that make it happen to us is just like, it's mind blowing. You watch something, you enjoy it, and then you just get to really. It's all the questions you ask yourself after you watch something, but except we have the place to go and the people to chat to. So it's a complete honor to us to have people like yourself come on and talk about the process of the movie itself, and just kind of what it takes to do it.
Yeah.
Well,
Another thing. Sorry, just another thing I wanted to say was it's not just the way it looks, it's the way it sounds, because it's not easy to get a movie to sound good. You can have a movie that looks great, but if the sound is off, if there's not enough effort put into the sound engineering, then it just falls to shit. And this movie doesn't do that. So again, based on the budget you had, or more the budget you didn't have, it's a testament to the work that went into it. So congratulations, it's a good job.
Oh, no, thank you. And I'm going to call out our two sound guys, Chris Bell, who also did the post sound, and David Major, who's now in Atlanta. Chris is in Pittsburgh. I didn't have to worry about sound at all because of those guys. They were fantastic and hilarious. You know, the guy who's always laughing and like not saying anything is Dave. So like. A blooper's about to happen. I can't wait to record this. And Chris would just let the labs record. I spit on my laptop again. So Chris would just let the labs record. We have so much, like it wouldn't make sense in the blooper reel, but we have so much ridiculousness recorded because he just let it run. So when the actors were preparing, they're just like practicing their lines, and then when they're trying to get they don't do, like in the movies they always say like red leather, yellow leather, and they're doing this like lion face stuff and all this. Nah, they're sitting there like, shoot him in the dick. They're saying stuff like this the whole time, and
it does. It looks like a scream. It looks like an absolute scream. I think if you get around to doing the sequel and you bring back a lot of the guys that haven't been killed, and in fact, I'm sure you'll be able to find a way of bringing back the ones that have been killed. But
so what do you call the sequel to Checkmate?
We were
talking about that earlier.
Where have you been? Were you here, Jim?
I was gone. That must have been when my Ethernet dropped out. I swear.
I heard some stomach rumbling. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, that was on my end. Sorry. No, we were talking about like, because it couldn't be Checkmate again, because you can only be in Checkmate once. You lose, you're dead.
Yeah.
Or you will be dead. Surrender or die kind of thing. So Checkmate again would be classic Hollywood, I guess. I don't know. So we were thinking like a Knight's Gambit or the Queen's Gambit, like all these chess moves. But the original title was Bystander. And
yeah, I remember that.
At the festivals, like it, they didn't. They recommended changing it. They said it sounded like more like a drama, a depressing drama about the bystander effect, and it didn't sound like an action thriller. I was like, well, this guy's running around throwing chess pieces around, so Checkmate sounds cool. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, where'd you come up with that? That's amazing. And I'm like, really? Pretty common kind of thing, But it's like, it's funny how people are, because, I remember watching a movie 17 years ago, and when in the behind the scenes, they were talking about how amazing Martin Lawrence was. And he was hilarious in the movie. And, but they kept saying his performance is so organic. And I'm like, well, he is made of carbon. I mean, what is this? And like, this is before organic became like a term. It was like, that was the buzzword of the year. So everyone interviewed was like, yes, his performance was very organic. And I was like, that's all anyone says in 10 minutes, that he performed organically. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't tell me anything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's whatever happens to be the buzzword of the moment, Oh, his performance was so woke. His performance was so vegan. His performance, just whatever's popular at the time, just go for it. His performance was so fair trade.
Yeah. We should use that. Well, for the sequel, that's what we're gonna say. So fair trade.
Just write on the actual DVD cover, just like 5 stars. The performances were so fair trade, and just come up with them yourself, and just quote Alan Smithy and whatnot.
That's what everyone should do for Checkmate right now. They should just go review it and say, so fair trade. 5 stars.
I promise, after this show, I'm going to do it. So
and he will. He will.
I love it. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Giuseppe.
Thank you so much.
We should do another show at some point, and where we talk about our favorite martial arts movies. So when we've got one to review, we'll definitely have you on, and we'll kind of look into what kind of stuff you were inspired by, and some of your favorite movies, and we can kind of just open a beer and shoot the shiaznas. For everyone watching, you can go to www.lucakarate.com, where you will virtually be able to teach them. So if you've ever wanted to become a martial artist, if you're sitting at home, probably not under age of 18, I imagine.
No, we're actually going to have kids classes starting sometime this summer.
Oh, there you go. So
I opened my first club when I was 21. I was working out in a gym, and so it's really the same kind of format. They saw me and go, "Hey, we need someone to teach classes," and I was like, "All right."
There we go. So if you want to work out. Yeah, you don't even need to go over to any other country to learn. You can literally open up your laptop, your computer, your smartphone. There we are. It's the world of 2021, where you can open
the
up
new normal.
Yeah, you can learn how to kick someone's ass without actually touching them. Now, if that's not karate, right?
Yeah, self-defense. Yes,
exactly. So go make
mind and body one.
So make sure to go ahead and check that out at www.lucakarate.com, and the other website is www.mountainwindproductions.com.
There you go. Mountain Wind Productions.
Definitely not reading that.
Longest name possible.
Yes. So make sure you go ahead and also watch the movie Checkmate. It is on Amazon Prime. It is also on Tubi, you say?
Tubi, yeah.
Definitely watch on the second one, because I think you earn more money that way.
Yes.
And if you love martial arts movies, if you're a fan of the genre, you're obviously watching this video because you are. Go ahead and share this movie with your friends, because remember, the more money that Giuseppe makes on this means the more movies he can make, and so on. So the genre will be plentiful. So make sure to go ahead and do that and support everything. As always, like and subscribe. Make sure to follow Giuseppe on social media to keep up to date with exactly what he's got going on, which will be kicking.
Yeah. And I'll pledge this: if we raise enough for the movie, we will put Jay and Kevin in it.
Oh wow, that would be. We're going to make sure that you earn enough now. How much are we talking?
2.5 million pounds.
Easy.
In fact, let me just check my pocket.
Perfect.
Exactly. But hey, exactly. We're your guys. If you need to, if you want to do some crowdfunder raising, all that kind of stuff, you can do on like GoFundMe and all that. If you decide to go down that route, we are the guys to help push that forward. So make sure to let us know. And everybody at home that's watching this, I mean, what's our current viewing time now? It's what, over 500,000 people.
Oh,
so
wow.
Worldwide, that's quite good. So if
I'm glad you told me at the end, I would have been so nervous.
So all 500,000 people that have watched our shows, make sure to go ahead and follow Giuseppe and get with it, because you guys could be part of something special, and so could we.
I think that if we told you at the beginning there was that many, you would sit there like Garth and just go, Wayne.
You know, I thought about doing this when you cut to me. So.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, everyone, and we will catch you guys on the flip side. I have been Kevin Wells, J Mac, and Giuseppe Lucarelli. Thanks, such a pleasure.
Well, pleasure was mine. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thanks.
Can't wait to do it again.